Guys, welcome back to the channel. Since the market didn't exactly help us, I hope everyone is having a good day. Yesterday was one of those days that reveals true weakness of some people's convictions. Everything was slipping, everything was red, and the sentiment was complete nonsense. While everyone else was complaining, a few people, as usual, paid heed and bought the dip instead of freaking out. Well done if you were one of them. Not because you were correct in your forecast, but rather because you took action when the market offered you a chance rather than lamenting volatility as if it were a novel phenomenon. The digital world was malfunctioning at the same time that everyone was coping with the melting charts. X and several other important websites went entirely awry. Approximately 100 million people globally were abruptly removed from daily sites. A complete catastrophe on par with Cloudflare. Although it was awful, it is stabilizing. Things are slowly coming back online. And we'll examine why in more detail. That is important in a moment. Bitcoin fell below 90,000 before to the interruption. Retailers go crazy when they see a flush like that. However, it also produces the exact place that serious gamers are looking for. A few of you intervened when it was appropriate, and nobody should be surprised to see green on the screen when they wake up today. Because algorithms overreact in both directions, markets retaliate. Whether we bounce is not the question. The query is, if the bounce is genuine or merely a ruse. And you already know that can alter at any time if you're paying attention rather than daydreaming. This is where things start to get interesting, though. This Thursday isn't like any other when people gripe on social media and prices fluctuate. Right now, something is taking place that might be significant for XRP. This isn't either. Furthermore, it's not the careless gossip mill that keeps using arbitrary dates to garner clicks. This is connected to a significant anticipated. Institutional change is anticipated but not assured. And rather than repeating whatever bullshit is floating around on the timeline, we're going to properly break it down. We also received new unemployment claim numbers throughout that time. For those who are only interested in charts, that may sound dull, but if you don't comprehend macro data, you don't understand cryptocurrency. The fact that today's jobless prints came in hotter than anticipated is significant because it alters the response that Powell and the Fed must make. Although inflation is a topic that everyone discusses, the Fed has two mandates: a robust job market and stable prices. Whether they want to or not, the Fed turns when one breaks. Additionally, liquidities are impacted by a pivot or simply the suggestion of one. And everything you own is impacted by liquidity. Therefore, no, it isn't just any day. We're volatile. There are outages here. In addition to the macro data that are hitting, there is one particular issue that could be crucial for XRP, depending on whether people are merely believing without question or thinking. The phrase guaranteed was circulated online. You will also be able to pinpoint the precise locations of the actual signals and the sources of the noise at the end of this video. I need you to take a moment to consider what's going on in this market before we move further. Although XRP is suppressed, everyone enjoys parroting. XRP is going to blow up. Though practically none of them bother to look at the data that truly matters, banks will flick the switch. And the majority of traders remain broke for precisely that reason. Instead of adhering to structure, they follow hype. You won't make that error. And I won't, at least if you. From now on, pay close attention. Let's talk about something that people continue to overlook. The structural compression that XRP is currently experiencing has been growing for years. And you can either comprehend what that really means, or you can act like it's dull. An asset does not indicate weakness when it coils this tight for this length of time. It's indicating that there won't be a tiny move next. The majority of retail traders don't understand compression, which is the issue. Only once the outbreak occurs do they respond. By that time, liquidity. They are the source of another person's income. Right now, I want you to focus on the liquidity behavior. Observe how the price is repeatedly pulled down into the same demand niches. That isn't arbitrary, it's accumulation. It is the smart absorption of sell pressure, not the cartoonish meaning that is frequently used on cryptocurrency Twitter. When liquidity continues to be harvested at consistent levels without disrupting the structure, it indicates that whales are attempting to load rather than dump. The majority of individuals in this area, however, totally lose the plot at this point. They confuse guaranteed upside with accumulation. This isn't how it operates. Only potential is created when compression and accumulation are combined. And depending on who is in control when the breakout occurs, that potential could either develop into a vicious liquidity sweep or a huge rally. Anybody who tells you it's 100% up only is either selling you a fantasy or is ignorant. Since the chart by itself won't move XRP to a higher macro range, let's talk about catalysts. You must. Actual triggers. And whether individuals like to admit it or not, Institutional enablement is the largest catalyst that XRP is facing. A suppressed asset cannot be moved into a new valuation band by retail speculation alone. And don't misunderstand, banks won't make any early announcements. Once the infrastructure is locked in, the market responds to their silent movements and system flips. Do you want the ideal illustration? Take a look at how ETFs caused floods of liquidity in other assets. 1A. The volume doesn't creep in when the regulated gateway opens. It rushes. Everyone continues misinterpreting the time, but XRP is positioning itself for the exact dynamic. The opium timeframe that influencers provide you is not reliable. Depend on the liquidity behavior, institutional integration, regulatory stability, and structural hints. The true signals are those. Because it destroys their opium, most individuals avoid this section. Bullish news isn't necessary for a big increase. With or without an announcement, XRP may rise. The market doesn't wait for your feelings to coincide. When liquidity conditions indicate that it's time, they move. You are therefore already behind if you continue to believe that good news equates to pump. Early, wise financial decisions should be made without emotion. What matters today is straightforward. The point at which the entire multi-year structure either validates or collapses is drawing near for XRP. No fairy tales, no magic, no drama. Just ruthless market logic. Additionally, you will wind up reacting rather than situating if you are not tuned into these situations prior to the motion starting. Since most traders totally undermine themselves in this area, let's move on to the topic that no one wants to discuss. When the market is quiet, everyone enjoys examining charts, but as soon as a genuine move begins to take shape, they become emotional turbulence. They get shaken out at the worst time and FOMO returns at the top because of this. Exactly the reverse of what a skilled trader does. In order to get away from that crowd, you must to comprehend what is truly happening in front of you at this moment. Let's start with the market cycles. XRP is not functioning in a vacuum. It is currently in the midst of an already initiated macro rotation. Liquidity is moving from overextended assets to long suppressed initiatives. And whether you like it or not, institutional entry is drawn to repressed assets with clear regulations.